Hey, good morning, spiritual prospectors. How are you? It's Marc, the Intuitive Prospector, here for another Metaphysical Mocha Monday. Just make sure my sound is up and we are sharing out the page. I have the comments turned off, so it looks like we have a couple people with us this morning hanging out for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. My name is Marc, the Intuitive Prospector. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, and just want to thank you for being here this morning. This is a 30-minute Facebook Live to get you on a path of being inspired for the week, to have a spiritual conversation, to have a spiritual chat. And this morning, we're going to be having a discussion on NDEs, NDAs, OBEs, and STEs. And I will break those down for all of those acronyms. It's something that we follow in the spiritual community. And we'll be talking about near-death experiences, near-death awareness, out-of-body experiences, and spiritual transformative experiences as well. So if you're just joining me, thank you for being here this morning. One of the things that we love to do here for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays here on the Om Times Institute page is have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Today I'm drinking coffee. I'm having a little Dunkin' Donuts from the East Coast. So grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's have a spiritual chat. Let's get into some discussions on NDEs, NDAs, OBEs, and STEs. So a lot of acronyms to be thinking about here. So real quick, just take a deep breath with me. Let's get into the magic of the moment. And again, if you're just new to the community, please subscribe to the video by hitting the subscribe when I go live on Om Times Institute page. Please share out to like-minded individuals or somebody that you think would get some knowledge or wisdom or education from these 30-minute shows. Again, for those that are watching, maybe you've had a near-death experience. Maybe you've had an out-of-body experience. Maybe you've had a spiritual transformative experience, or maybe you know somebody that is nearing death, what I call near-death awareness. So I've had all of them, with the exception of the NDA, which is a near-death awareness. That hasn't crossed my path yet, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit more detail. But just take a deep breath with me, get into the magic of the moment, just have an attitude for gratitude. That's what this show is all about. And just thank you for being here. Please post a comment. If I'm not reading the comments right now, so I can get to everything that I need to get to today. But if you're just joining me, let me know where you're from. Let me know if you've had an NDA, if you've had an NDE, if you've had an OBE or an STE. I'm saying S, that's a spiritual transformative experience, not to be confused with an STT. So people are hearing me right. ST as in Tom, E. So I also want to give you a positive affirmation for the week. I'm going to be giving you a number for the week, and I'm going to be doing at random the prospecting stone and spirit totem animal for the week. So if you would like to join me after this show, where I will engage with you on the Intuitive Prospector page, I will put a link in the comment section below. It's a link to my other page, the Intuitive Prospector page, and that is where I have the Q&A after show immediately following the main show, Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with Marc, and that's where I will engage with you directly through Facebook Live. And we have a spiritual chat. People ask questions. It's a fun community. I hope that you will join us over there on the Intuitive Prospector page. And again, that's at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join that conversation, join that community, I'm going to try to paste it in right now. There it is. All right. And there you go. It should be in the live feed now down below the comment section. And you can just click right on that link and it'll take you to the Facebook page for the Intuitive Prospect page, which is my main business page, and we can have Q&A and have a spiritual chat. So I hope that you'll join me. But please share out to like-minded individuals, like-minded groups. We grow the page organically. I can't share all the pages out, otherwise I'll get put in Facebook jail, which I've been put in Facebook jail. Facebook seems to be managing their algorithms and their groups a little bit better. So that's good. That's a good thing to keep down any kind of spam or people that are trying to weaponize social media. We are not doing that. We are trying to bring a message of inspiration, hope, healing, guidance, wisdom, enlightenment. That's what this platform is all about here on the Om Times Institute page. You can check out about I got about 15 classes through the Om Times Institute page. Some are free, some are cost. And you can do that for spiritual development, spiritual growth. I also have an online spiritual development group if you're interested in becoming a visitor of the SDG, which is the Spiritual Development Growth team, where we get together online every week and connect spiritually and do different exercises. So it's a lot of fun. So the positive affirmation for this week is something I just posted, and it's about letting your past make you better, not bitter. As we move into 2018, a lot of people carry their past, myself included. A lot of the stuff that I'm giving to you guys is because of my own experiences, because of my own soul adventures, my own life lessons, if you will. And so for many years, I carried my past, and it would make me bitter based on maybe the hurt of what people would do to us, or family or friends, or something that we didn't feel like we accomplished or didn't impress somebody. But the positive affirmation for this week is, let your past make you better, not bitter. And if you can say that a few times throughout the week, throughout the day, it's a positive affirmation. It's a positive mantra to help you on your journey. And just, feel better that you don't have to carry your past as a life sentence, that you can set that down, start living today, and be free. We all make mistakes. I was talking a few weeks ago about fail. We all fail, but it's how you approach that failure, which I talk about it as first attempt in learning. So I'm learning something in my soul adventure of life, if you will, while I'm here. So I don't know if you guys caught the Super Bowl last night, if you're in the United States or outside of the world. I know we got an audience all around the world. It was fun to watch. It was a fun game. I love the competitiveness. But there's something that caught my ear, I guess. One of the main commentators that was talk about, he broke the score down, and it was I think right before the halftime, and he had actually said, if any of you study numerology, which I'm a numerologist, I follow numbers, he had broken down the score. I think it was like 22-15 at the time for the Eagles were leading. And he said for those that are following numerology, that would be the area code. It would break down to the area code of the Philadelphia area. So I thought that was kind of cool to see a sporting event of that nature, of that caliber, where you've got 100 million people watching. We don't have that same audience here, obviously. But it was amazing to hear a reference to numerology in a sporting event, and have reference to that. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys yesterday. And it was fun to watch, fun game, came right down to the wire, which is always fun. And then rewatch a show right after it called This Is Us. And it was cool because in the show, the father had passed into spirit, and the mother, every year on Super Bowl Sunday, because he passed on a Super Bowl Sunday, is the family would do their own thing to remember their father in spirit. And the mother, without a shadow of a doubt, said that her husband would always bring her a sign to make her laugh. So I thought it was really cool to have a major sporting event make reference to numerology, and then have a well-known show on a major network, This Is Us, talking about spiritual signs, symbols, and synchronistic events, which I talk about and teach about all the time, and that on Super Bowl Sunday, she knows that she's going to get a message from her loved one, her husband in this case, the father, the husband, from the spirit world. So real tearjerker, but it was really cool to see that reference to spiritual signs, symbols, and synchronistic events from the spirit world, because they will give us those signs if we're open and aware to that. So, again, your positive affirmation is, let your past make you better, not bitter. You're watching Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with Marc here on the Om Times Institute page every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by the Q&A after show over on the Intuitive Prospector page here on Facebook Live. So let's talk about NDE. The first one is near-death experience. Let me know if you've had an NDE and what your thought, what your experience was, what you experienced. I've had not one but two near-death experiences. One when I was small, fell out of a tree on my head and was in a coma for a couple days, walking with what I called the the shadow people. They were really tall and didn't have a face, didn't have a gender, but held my hand and showed me all around this. I guess was the spirit world. I don't know. I was unconscious and in a coma. But what was fascinating to me with the NDE, near-death experience, is I felt safe, I felt at peace, I felt protected, I felt connected, and I felt as one. I've had a lot of great people on my show. We're going into our third season of Inspired Living Radio over on Om Times Radio Network. It's our internet-based show. And one of the guests that we had on was, they wrote a book called The Transformative Power of Near-Death Experiences, two ladies from England. We had them on the show talking about all of this. So if you want to check that out, how the messages of NDEs positively impact the world, that's a fantastic book. Again, it's called The Transformative Power of Near-Death Experiences by Dr. Penny Satori and Kelly Walsh. And they were actually featured guests on our show just a few weeks ago. And so your near-death experience, the one thing that I would take away and share with you is we really are part of the same whole, if you will. We are all linked together. That's the one thing that I took away from my NDE, my near-death experience. And, you know, studies into NDEs, they've done several studies on this related to this phenomenon, because it's pseudoscience. You can't prove it, but you can't disprove it, right? So we would say that that is a pseudoscience. But most everybody that's had an NDE experience, and please put a comment in the comment section if you have. I will come back after the show and try to revisit some of the comments and communicate with you. And if not, then join us for the Q&A after show, and let's have a spiritual conversation over on the Intuitive Prospector page. But it's, you know, most people are knowing or showing that we are interconnected to the universe, to something bigger than ourselves. And for me, what I took away from that, because I ended up having an NDE later in life in a river accident, and what I took away from that was I realized that the physical body will certainly end. That journey will end for all of us. The two things guaranteed in life, as they say, death and taxes, right? But what I found from my NDE, my near-death experience, is that the journey continues on. And, you know, it's maybe a more subtle form of consciousness, but it's part of that eternal soul. It's energy, it's frequency, it's vibration. And I had that experience. I had, you know, the near-death experience. I know some of you have had out-of-body experiences. I know, being a retired firefighter, EMT, that I would talk with a few police officers, and they would have, you know, in a rescue situation or a fire or some sort of active crime scene, where they would have an out-of-body experience, where somebody would shoot at them and they would see the bullet coming at them in slow motion and have this out-of-body experience. So I've had a few of those out-of-body experience. You may have had it in your dreamscape. You may have, you know, just felt like maybe post-surgery or post-op coming out of surgery. I know they did a study with people that were going into an emergency room. They had written something on the top of the supports, like just a funny saying, like there's a pink elephant wearing a tutu on the very top of the beam that you could only see it from a 30,000 foot perspective looking down. And they've done studies like that where people who have had near-death experience and have crossed over and then come back to their body say, why was there a saying written on top of this steel support girder saying there was a pink elephant wearing a tutu? So they've done interesting studies on near-death experiences. They've measured the body after somebody dies, that we actually lose a little bit of weight. So why are we losing weight when we die? Some, you know, theorize that that's the soul and energy leaving the body. But it just tells me that, you know, our understanding of consciousness for this morning is very incomplete. It's kind of like saying that we know everything about the Earth. We know more about our moon than we do our own oceans. We are just learning so much about our galaxy and where our galaxy, how big it is, how vast it is. And I would say that with the same, with the consciousness, with the mind. There's just so much that we don't know. And I think 2018 is the 11 year, which is a universal year. It's a year of great openness and change and peace, and may not feel like that right now, but mark my words, you know, I believe more in the numbers than I do in what society is telling me. And the numbers tell me that this is a universal year. This is going to be a big year for a lot of people, a lot of life-changing, eye-opening events where people will come together. It's a year to bring people together, not divide, and we see a lot of that right now, especially in the United States. But it is a year to bring people together for peace, universal change. It's 11 number, which is a universal number. It's a master number in numerology. Google it. You can get more insight for it. Just don't have enough time today to get to everything. But I can tell you from the near-death experiences that I've had, and I think everybody has a different perspective, which I think is important. It's kind of like, don't try to argue facts, argue perception of the facts, because we see people creating their own perceptions of stuff. But near-death experiences, a lot of people have had it. Some people don't talk about it. It took me a couple years to talk about my near-death experiences because of what society might throw at you, judge you, say about you. But for me, it was just eye-opening to let me know that this physical journey may stop with the physical body of who Marc is, but the spiritual journey, the consciousness, the mindset continues on with the soul, and it moves on into another, whether it's another dimension, whatever your belief system is of heaven, but it's all about learning and growing and continuing on the journey. Or I always like to say #AMF, always move forward, and the soul is no different, always move forward. So that's near-death experiences, NDEs. OBEs, which is out-of-body experiences. Some of you may have had that. Like I said, dreamscapes, surgeries, any kind of medical procedures. You may have had an out-of-body experience. Rescue workers have described when they've been shot at, time slows down. Sporting events, some people even talk about having OBEs in sporting events when they're in the zone or they see the baseball slow down and they're a really good hitter. That can be classified as an OBE or out-of-body experience. The other one is an NDA, near-death awareness, and I got into this because I've done a little bit of work with hospice, my own journey of watching my brothers pass into spirit. I've had a lot of family members, unfortunately, pass into spirit from, all from MS, cancer, murder, diabetes, suicide, you name it. And so I just recently had a friend, that I've known for years, and she was getting ready. She had gone into hospice, and I knew that an NDA was imminent because I could see angels around her. So near-death awareness. There's actually a great book written by Angela Morrow that talks about a dying person awareness that death is near. And again, for me, death is not to be feared. Of course, we tend to go to fear of what we don't know, but death, I like to say passing or transitioning, because that is literally the next step on the staircase of light as we move up into something bigger and better than ourselves. But it's a book called Final Gifts, and it's written by two nurses that worked in hospice and spent years researching this. And the two books that I'm giving you as reference are by people that are in the field that see it daily and have researched it for years before writing about their experiences. And that's near-death awareness, NDA. Some people, the spirit world may start preparing people, 6 to 8 weeks in advance for their transition. And you may have a family member that may be talking about that they've been seeing their loved ones, or they've been seeing their mom and dad of recently, or dreaming of them. They might be terminal, like my brother was terminal with his cancer, and we had some discussions on some of the things that he was seeing before he transitioned into the spirit world. So, he was having some NDA experiences, because they were preparing him for his transition, and we knew that he was going to transition. There was no way around it. The cancer had spread through his entire brain, but he was having some really cool experiences with the angels. I remember when I was with my grandma, and that was my first personal loss, was being with my grandma on her transition, the day of her transition, and we kept seeing flashes of gold all around her in the room at night, during the morning when she passed, and so that for me was like a near-death awareness for me, for her to see the angels, because again, I kept seeing, both my cousin and I, we were both seeing it with our physical eyes. It was pretty amazing, but it was flashes of gold, which we would, talk about the angels were coming, encircling her and getting ready to help her transition. When I do readings, when I do mediumship readings and I talk to people are always asking me, well, are they still suffering? Was it scary to transition over? And I always get, no, the family was there. Their friends were there to welcome. Their pets were there to welcome them transition into the spirit world. And again, death can be a scary thing. And if you've never faced it, or you've never had a family member go through it, I can tell you just from all the hundreds of readings I've done that the spirit world prepares us, and they have people waiting for us as we make that transition. Just like stepping through a threshold in a house, it's like stepping over that threshold and into the spirit world. There's a lot of people, animals, friends, colleagues, coworkers, all there waiting to embrace you. And it'll be interesting because I have a reading today here in the studio. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, and I'm already preparing and setting that intent for who may show up and what kind of messages that they can give to the person that's wanting to have a communication with them. So just talking about NDEs, near-death experiences, NDAs, near-death awareness, OBEs, out-of-body experiences, and last but not least, spiritual transformative experience, STEs. For me, when I was told that my brother had been murdered, and then 3 days later my older brother was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, for me that was an STE. That was a spiritual transformative experience for my own journey. It has a lot to do with the work that I do today through the Intuitive Prospector and the radio show and doing readings. I don't do this work full time because I do believe that it is sacred work to do as a medium and to help people with their healing and their grieving process and help them move forward and be an ambassador for the spirit world. But it's something that definitely was an STE for me. So I know a lot of you watching today, and that people that are either in my spiritual development group online or follow my pages of either Soul Adventures on Facebook. There's a closed Facebook page called Soul Adventures, or the Intuitive Prospector page, or Inspired Living Radio. We've had many guests on the show in our third season talking all about spiritual transformative experiences. Everything I'm talking about this morning. And for you, those of you that are watching this morning, you may be going through an STE right now, a spiritual transformative experience. It could be a loss of a loved one. It could be a change in your relationship. It could be a change in your career. Those are all transformative, but all for the good. And remember, like I said, the positive affirmation for this week is to let your past make you better, not bitter. So the past is helping you create these experiences, these soul adventures, what I call, to create education and knowledge. The knowledge helps you move into wisdom. The wisdom helps you move into enlightenment eventually. And with everything that helps us with wisdom and education is getting a quick cup of coffee and having a quick drink of coffee. So, we got a few more minutes here, but I want to let you know that we're going to be switching over to the Intuitive Prospector page here on Facebook for Facebook Live Q&A after show with me, Marc Lanehart, the Intuitive Prospector. And I will engage you directly on the Q&A after show for free readings, spiritual chats, just conversations, saying hi to people in the soul tribe, as I like to say, or the spiritual community. You can also do that in the comment section here. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Throw up some hearts. Let me know where you're from in the world, so I can say hi to you on the Q&A after show, or even here on the Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Check out my work on the Om Times Institute page, or check out my Inspired Living Radio show on the internet from anywhere in the world on any device called Inspired Living Radio with Marc and Kim. Going into our third season, having lots of fun. So I'm going to random pick a animal totem card for you. This week we pick the swan card. So pay attention to the swan, and the message of the swan card is you are beautiful just as you are. So if you see a swan, some of you may think that you are not beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. We all have our journey. We all have beauty within. We all have beauty outside. It's just you are beautiful in whatever you're doing. So when you see the swan, just let that be a reminder for your journey today, because all you have is today. Can't change the past of yesterday. No guarantees for tomorrow. Take it from someone who spent many years in the line of search and rescue, rescuing, first responder. There is no guarantees for tomorrow, guys. So appreciate what you have today. Have an attitude for gratitude today. Be the swan. See the swan. You are beautiful just as you are. It's none of your business what other people think of you. And again, let your past make you better, not bitter. The crystal, or the prospecting stone of the week, I'm actually just doing just a random, just kind of being drawn by where the spirit world is going to take me. And the stone that I'm going to give you today is called the Nebulous Stone. It's a black stone, and it's black with green spots, and it's composed of 4 minerals. It can be found. It's pretty new stone on the market, but it's coming from the United States and Mexico. That's where Southwest United States, so like New Mexico, Mexico area. But it's said to have unique metaphysical properties which are still being explored. So they really don't necessarily know everything about the prospecting stone, but it's known to be a blend of the vibration of light carried in the quartz component into the physical body, enlightening the cells and activating their consciousness. So I thought it would be a good stone to help you with your consciousness if you have experienced an NDE, an NDA, an OBE, or an STE. And they can help you to gaze. A nebula stone can help you to gaze outwardly into infinity and inwardly into the smallest particles of your being. So it's called the nebula stone. It's black with green spots. It's sourced out of New Mexico, Southwest United States, Mexico, and it's a vision stone. It's to help you, give you vision for the future ahead, but also what's going on in the world around. So check out the nebula stone if you see it, if it ends up popping up on your path, and pay attention to that. I as well, that's why I give you the stone, so I can learn about it, and also so I can check out the stone and do a meditation with it, or learn more about the properties. Crystals, stones, they all can do amazing things for your journey. Don't knock it till you try it, right? And part of my mantra for this year is to explore the unknown, see the unseen in 2018. So I'm learning right along with you. So again, the swan card for today: you are beautiful just as you are. Your positive affirmation is let your past make you better, not bitter. And check out the nebula stone for if you want to prospect with that and try that out and see how that leads you. The number for the week is the number 11, which is an individuality card. It's the number 11, which would tie into the year of 2018, which is an 11 year, and it's all about individuality. There's the old saying that you come in alone, so shall you return. When you come into the world, everybody around you is happy with joy, and then when you leave the world, it's you crying because you're finally getting onto something bigger and better, and returning back to source and consciousness. So again, the 2 books that I was just making reference into, I've interviewed 2 of the authors. I hope to interview the other authors in 2018 if I can, but one is called The Transformative Power of Near-Death Experiences by Dr. Penny Satori and Kelly Walsh. It's how the messages of NDEs, a near-death experience, can positively impact the world. So if you've had an NDE, I would highly explore that. You can check out the live radio podcast. If you subscribe to my YouTube library through marclanehart.com, you can get to that actual podcast. It was a fascinating show. I learned a lot. Talked about their book, and then also the Final Gifts book, which is written by hospice nurse Maggie Callanan and Patricia Kelly are the 2 authors of that book. So 2 book references for you. I'm going to start heading over to the Intuitive Prospector page for the Q&A after show. I hope that you'll join me and continue on the conversation, our spiritual chat, if you will. If not, have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a great week. Stay mindful. Stay positive. I will see you next Monday here on the Om Times Institute page at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can catch me this Wisdom Wednesday over on Inspired Living Radio, the internet-based show, going into our 3rd season. So have a great rest of your week. Until our next soul adventure, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Namaste.